Welcome to this edition of Skills Update. This is a marketplace for all information concerning skills development as required by individuals, corporate organizations, and Nigeria as a whole. This week, we will be looking at the quality of skills in Nigeria with respect to sectorial needs and what is being done to ensure that the development efforts of the federal government are powered by requisite skills. But before we go on, let's take a brief trip into the world of Industrial Training Fund. My name is Angela Jai. Welcome on board.
The Industrial Training Fund is one agency of government that needs no rigorous introduction to Nigerian citizens. Its activities cut across every sector of the Nigerian economy and affects virtually every Nigerian family. The fund, which has been in existence for 43 years, has significantly improved in strategic areas of its core mandate, such as industry training need identification, development and implementation of training intervention, in-depth diagnostic studies of small and medium-scale enterprises, and Students' Industrial Work Experience Scheme, (SIWES), among many other important functions. Unlike in the past when skills development was not done in line with sector-specific or country needs, today, the ITF strategy is centered around diagnosing the skills problem of Nigeria, with a view to not only providing adequate skills for critical sectors, but also ensuring that those who acquire the skills are actually put to work. The Industrial Training Fund is implementing a national technical and entrepreneurial skills development program for 1,000 youths in each state of the Federation. Already, over 1 million youths have benefited, and more are being added day by day. For a long time, Nigerians have complained endlessly about the lack of requisite skills, especially in the construction sector in the area of world-class finishing for building jobs. Today, this is fast becoming a thing of the past, as the ITF under the current administration is not only enhancing those skills according to sectoral needs, the fund is also classifying artisans based on their skills and competency levels. For the first time in the history of Nigeria, the federal government is undertaking a nationwide skills gap assessment to first uncover what skills are lacking in the labor force, what skills are needed by employers in the market now, and what skills will be needed in the future. This assessment is being developed by ITF in partnership with UNIDO, UNIDO. The results of the assessments will be used to develop the NSRP, which will aim to train 2 million employable Nigerians annually. The DG ITF spoke extensively on the new ITF and its transformation strategies.
The Industrial Training Fund is a unique organization. It's well positioned, definitely, to deliver on its mandate. Right now, it's also undergoing a far-reaching transformation. ITF is being repositioned to better deliver on its mandate. By the way, ITF has been in existence for the past 43 years, and we did a quick survey sometime last year to assess the thinking of people, how they see ITF, and their expectations. And based on that, we're coming up, we've actually concluded a new strategy on how to proceed in both selling ITF and also delivering on the mandate of ITF. And that actually led me to coming up with a 4-point agenda, which is, the foremost, the number one thing being the training of 2 million Nigerians annually. This was informed based on the fact that we have looked at the system, and we know that the universities, the polytechnics are graduating an average of about 1 million every year. And considering where we are at the unemployment level, I believe that if we don't aspire or push on training up to 2 million a year, there will be a problem. The unemployment rate could keep growing. But what we can do is to train. If we train 2 million and they're not employed, we haven't done anything. And that has actually also given us a new mindset, also made us begin to refocus, re-strategize, and then also leverage on our competitive advantage or comparative advantage, which is our relationship with the organized private sector. We're working with them right now to identify the vacancies that exist, to be able to encourage them to take up some of these trainees so that it's easier for them to employ the trainees after their training program with the Industrial Training Fund. That has been very successful. We've done a lot of that working with the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association. Out of the 2,300, 2,500 or so that have been trained so far, working with them, we have over 70% of those people being fully employed. A training institution with a broad mandate, we have always known that we can't do it alone. We can't work in silos. So strategic partnership has been a focal point of our operations. ITF has had a long-standing relationship with Senai Brazil. We have trained a lot of our trainers with Senai. We have also trained a lot with the Singaporean Technical Institute, and even with lots in Israel, in the agro-allied sector as well. So we expose our trainers. Just January, a group of them were in Scotland to be trained under the Nigerian Vocational Qualification Framework, NVQF. So we have assessors, we have verifiers, we have center managers, well trained on the international standards. And I believe we can't do a lot of things alone. And we are benchmarking international best practices. So working closely with Brazil, we believe that one day the ITF technical training centers will just be at par with the Senai Brazil standard, and if possible exceed that. And the series program as well, what we're trying to do is to align it with the German dual system, dual education system, because we believe that will be the only way these students will become relevant to the industries, or become more relevant to the industries. It's going to be a beautiful arrangement, so to speak, but we may not be able to implement the totality of the German dual system, because that is a culture that has been existing for over 400 years. But we can take up elements of the German dual system and be able to implement that in the SUIT program. Right now, we've done a pilot scheme working with the team, the German dual vocational education from Germany, and with the German Chamber of Commerce and Industry, they are members. So some students were, some trainees were employed as apprentices in industries and were trained by ITF, and so they spent 1 month in ITF centers, and then they also go into the industry, work for 3 months, and then come back. And that was done for a period of 12 months, and we completed successfully. We're moving into the next phase, where we're including more training centers to train more people. In fact, the training of the trainers commenced yesterday, and it's going to run for 1 month, and then we can proceed to training the apprentices as well. So it's a beautiful thing. What we need in Nigeria is the practical skills, is exposure of our students to the hands-on learning. And once we're able to do that, we'll be able to bridge the gap between what's needed by the industries and what's being produced by the institutions. We are looking at that and looking at elements of the dual education system, how we can take up that and begin to infuse it with a sewage system. We should be able to put up a report or a memo to FEC through our Honorable Minister in that regard. We have done a lot, but what we want to do now is engage the other stakeholders, the NUC, NBT, and the rest of them, to look at what we have and see how we can fine-tune it for onward presentation. But I believe that's the way to go. And then also, I'm sure you're aware now, the Industrial Training Fund is carrying out the first major skills gap survey. There's a holistic skills gap survey that focuses a lot on the growth sectors of the economy. And I must tell you that that is something that will be of great benefit to the country, to our industries, to the training centers, to the schools, to the government, policymakers. It's far-reaching, and even internationally, because I have people calling me from Europe, from Asia, asking, oh, is a survey ready? They would like to have a look, they would like to see the outcome, they are interested in investing in Nigeria, they want to know where the gaps are. Some of them want to invest in skills development as well. So they are waiting for the outcome. A lot of the times, I think the issue is the fact that the skilled workforce, or the trained person, artisan, either in plaster of Paris, bricklaying and all that, is not able to find the employer easily, or the employer is not able to find the right skilled person. There's a kind of disconnect. It happens even when you're recruiting people. The perfect staff will be out there, but somehow it's difficult. They won't be able to raise their hand and say, here, I'm here, you know. And what we're trying to do is also to address that, to provide a platform. And that's why I'm happy about the NVQF, that the federal government has approved up to the 6th level. 6th level is equivalent of master's degree level. And what we're doing now is be able to grade or classify our trainees. We should be able to present a trainee and say, oh, this one is a graduate in welding and fabrication, but it's up to the basic level. If you have the simple tasks, give to him, you'll be perfect there. But don't give me anything complex. We can have somebody else come out as, okay, his own competency level is up to the intermediate or up to the advanced. I'm just using a very simple illustration. You know, and then when you get to the advanced level, you know that this person is a master craftsman. I see an ITF that is comparative to Senate Brazil in the area of technical skills development of world standard. I see an ITF that will be a first choice for any employer seeking training program for their staff or for themselves. I see an ITF that is efficiently and effectively run, that is fully automated to deliver more effectively on its mandate. I see an ITF that will become a household name and also an agent of change and for transformation as well. I see an ITF that is well positioned to drive the industrialization policy of the federal government.
I have acquired the technical skills on auto mechanical repair and also how to carry out diagnosis on Peugeot cars.
Pure experience on panel beating and welding. I also have many techniques on how to put an accidental car back to its original shape.
I wish to inform you that with my 2 years ITF and NECA program, I am now a full mechatronic engineer. I diagnose and repair cars, especially Mercedes-Benz models. Our workshop is at Rigiza Zaki along Gwaso Road, Kano.
It's a remarkable achievement on how the ITF and NECA program turned my life from that of an ordinary person to a skilled person, capable of serving and maintaining motor vehicles, that is, light vehicles. As a result, I gained employment with the Kano State government as a vehicle inspection officer, popularly called VIO, with the Ministry of Works, Housing and Transport, Kano.
There is no gainsaying the fact that it is a new dawn in Nigeria in the area of skills development. With consistent implementation of the working strategies, the ITF will deliver a sound economy driven by the right skills.
My name is Adedo Mbakene. Skills Update went around some ITF training centers to assess the impact of phone training on students. Contrary to the perception out there, the skills training is being handled with levity in Nigeria. Activities at different centers showed that, for the first time, skills development is being given the desired attention. The students' confidence in a better tomorrow is also totally amazing. They are sure of making their skills acquisition count in the quest for a greater Nigeria.
I've acquired so many skills here, not only being a fitter machinist, and acquire how to be very, very useful in the production company. And apart from being useful to the production company, I've also learned how to stand on my own, because we have been taught entrepreneurship in this place as a course. So in case of you, after acquiring this skill, if you don't get an immediate job, you can stand on your own. So that's why we have been taught entrepreneurship courses here.
So far, the machine aspect has really been helpful, like producing parts of machine. All the teachers there is really helpful to me.
It is imperative if you want to become an electrical engineer that you know the technical know-how, the skills involved in using all these machines. You just don't have to be there to be a liability to a company. You must be able to use these machines, not that the company will be starting to train you and spending so much money to train you. That is the reason why we've been in ITF since January, and we have been able to learn how to do some surface wiring, some conduit wiring, on how to implement all those things, both for industrial and for domestic use. Example is the direct online motor starter, as I said before. This is, you can see it here, we can simulate, we can do anything we like on it. So if we want to do a fluorescent tube for fittings, for instance, we have the electrical wiring diagrams. Instead, when you don't have money to buy all those fittings, you can simulate them here and check the results and check if it will work or not, and correct them if they don't work. So when you have the result at hand, then you can do it practically and know how to manipulate your way through.
My aim of coming to this program initially was to gain more skill in the automation aspect. That is my main skills. My aim here is to be one of the best. See that most of our industry are lacking in terms of automation. Most of our industry, they have none or half automated. So I want to, by the end of the program, when I go out there, I'll be able to boast in terms of automation. Be able to write to PLC, write programs, and all that.
Contrary to what's obtained in the past, when skills development was handled solely by government without input from the employers, the ITF under the new regime is working hand in hand with the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association to ensure that skills development is handled according to specific needs. This is in a bid to bridge the skills gap whilst also ensuring that developed skills are put to good use. On ITF's giant strides at ensuring that Nigeria develops the requisite skills to drive industrial development, Skills Update spoke to the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Ambassador Abdulkadir Musa MNI, and he had this to say.
Skills, when you mention skills, it can be varied depending on the enterprise, or it is something related to industries. These are all different things. But I guess what you're talking about is what we've been discussing, what we call the skill gap within the country. A lot of people are not employed in Nigeria, not because they have not gone to school, but because what they have read is not addressing the needs of the country regarding employment that's available. For that reason, the former Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, much to his credit, and some other people who share the same views, and some chief executive of this ministry, they've cobbled together what they presented to the president that has now, at that time, that become a policy under the, what you call Industrial Training Fund, in cooperation with the Small and Medium Enterprise Scheme Agency, SMEDAN. They've decided to undertake a study where they are trying to now fashion or craft some kind of curriculum whereby people who are even educated or otherwise have finished school but have no jobs can now be latched onto some programs that can address some requirement in some areas where we have jobs. And of course, there is even concerted effort to see if we can influence the curricula in school so that eventually people who come out of the universities will be tailor-made to suit into employments that are being created within an outside government cycle. And that's because we have put in place also, when I say we, I mean the ministry has put in place, and the government, certain policies that are to bring about industries that will absorb those kind of skills that are going to be, tailor-made for those industries. So A lot of young people are there. They have the skills, but the jobs are not there for the kind of skills they have. And there are a lot of jobs, but no skilled people to fill them. What we're trying to do now is to be able to have this equilibrium, to be able to have a synergy somewhere for things to fit. It may take a couple of years, 3 years, 4, 5 years to do, but outside that, there are also some other efforts to create jobs for people who are not within those brackets. Because we always ask the question, what of those who are not lucky enough to go to school, what do they do? And there are people who are also entrepreneurs that have opportunity to do other things, but we've not given them the chance because they do not have the enabling environment. Now, there are policies that allow such environment for them to thrive.
Now let's look at some of the exciting activities of the fund this week. The Director General ITF, Dr. Mrs. Juliet Chukkas Onaeko, has reiterated the commitment of the federal government to efficient delivery of qualitative skills for sustained industrial development of Nigeria. She spoke during an interactive session with stakeholders in the industry in Abuja during the week, and she had this to say.
The current government under President Buhari, I know, has a passion for capacity building, job creation. They are also focusing on how to bring down the unemployment level right now, which is also the passion of the Industrial Training Fund. That is our passion, and that is why we have proactively gone ahead to start certain things, to start coming up with some quick wins for the present government to ensure that, we all hit the ground running, and that within a very short time there'll be something noticeable, something that people can look at and say, yes, this government have actually achieved this milestone and that milestone. We're already working. Right now, we have had our own strategic meeting. We've drawn up, we've looked at certain things we've been doing before. We're coming on board last year. I had set a goal to train 2 million per annum. But looking at the major need and the high level of unemployment, underemployment, and having over 100 million people living below the poverty line, we know that the best way is to scale up training programs and also not just training for training's sake, to train for employability, to train for wealth creation, for job creation. So that is what we are doing right now. So our focus is now more on how many of those trained can be employed. How can we ensure that in a quarter we can train over 1 million, and then we assure that at least 70% of these people trained get either employed or start their own businesses. So we have to go into more like outside the box thinking. We're no longer doing the structured system of things. Okay, it must be this way. We know that the youth these days they are dynamic when it comes to innovative ideas, their expectations, aspirations, and all of that. We have recently come up with a list of 100 top businesses or trade areas that are of interest to the youth, and we've also gone ahead to commission a team to come up with feasibility study for all these trade areas, 100 trade areas. We have almost concluded our job portal, which is going to be like a forum for employers to meet employees.
Please send in your inquiries about any aspect of the Industrial Training Fund's activities to skillsupdate@weeklyriteng.com. For advert placements, please contact the Skills Update team via info@weeklyriteng.com or on the numbers +234 8076 946536 or +234 8136 531086. But then it's text only. Thanks for watching and see you next week.